Don't lose your way. Your mind, we have to be as one.
What's going on, YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another video today. Today I'll be bringing you guys my updated Dark Magician deck profile for you guys. But before I get too far into it, I'm going to talk about a few little things. So the card Demise is a card I've seen a lot of Dark Magician players playing, and it's certainly not bad. I'm just not a huge fan of card Demise and the type of decks that it enables. But that being said, it is very good because you can play traps, and Dark Magician and traps, they kind of go together. But the worst thing about Demise is that it prevents you from playing hand traps, which are some of the most powerful cards in our game right now. And card Demise also, like, you're basically relying on trap cards to out your opponent's monsters instead of using something like Apprentice to get over it. So that's kind of how I prefer to have the deck. But obviously, you know, the Demise build is something that can work for you guys if you decide to run that. Full Force is a card I see a lot of Dark Magician players talking about. It's definitely very good. I don't actually own any copies of the card. That's why it's not in the list. But the other reason is it doesn't do enough. You know, when you have powerful trap cards like Solemn Strike at 3, it's really hard to consider other trap cards. It's just the way it is. I just don't think there's a lot of reason to play other trap cards, but that's just me. The new Dark Magician Fusion, you know, it's probably going to be a lot of your guys' questions. You know, how do you like the card? Is it good? I definitely like it. It's good. But the issue I have with it is it helps the deck. It does sort of, but it doesn't like take the deck to another level. It helps. It fixes one of the deck's problems, kind of like Apprentice does, where she fixes your inability to get over big monsters. Dark Magician 9 does the same thing. It protects your Eternal Soul, and it can be recurred by Eternal Soul. That is really good. But there's just not a lot of... It's not the easiest thing to summon, because you need to have Eye of Timaeus, or you need to be playing Prisma. And I know Hero Lives exists, but like I don't really want to play Hero Lives in my Dark Magician deck just to turbo this thing out. It's not that good. I feel like the best way to play it is kind of take a couple copies of the Fusion in your extra deck, tap a couple copies of Timaeus, you're pretty much set. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get to the deck profiles. First off, we have 3 Dark Magician. Self-explanatory. You pretty much, in a lot of these older, you know, redone legacy decks, you're not playing 3 Blue Eyes and Blue Eyes this. Are you playing or 2 Blue Eyes? You're playing 3. Same thing with Dark Magician. 2 Dark Illusion. It gets a little cloggy at 3. You don't, unless you're playing Allure of Darkness, you probably don't want to play 3 of this. It's gonna get stuck in your hand. That's no bueno. 3 Rods. It searches some of your most important cards with are searchable via Rod. That's pretty good. It's also recurable as well by tributing off a spellcaster when you activate a trap card or spell card on your opponent's turn. So that's really strong. Then the 3 Apprentice Illusion Magicians. The card is pretty good. It searches just about everything you need. Search your Dark Magician on summon. It's very easy to summon, and the main thing I like about it more than anything else is it gets over big things because you can pump up any spellcaster, dark spellcaster besides yourself by sending it from the hand or field to the grave to gain 2,000 attack. That's pretty strong. It also, if I'm not mistaken, it bypasses skill drain because it sends itself, so that's pretty good. 1 Knights and Sorcerers is kind of another little tech because it is a tuner you can navigate out. The important thing, it also can banish 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard when it's special summon. The unfortunate thing is the when in the card, which means it can miss timing. It won't always activate if you special summon in the middle of opponent's combo. That kind of sucks, but it's still a good card in my opinion. Then the 1 Maxi and 2 Ash Blossoms. These are kind of built with my real life ratios in mind. These are the cards I own. I only have 2 Ash. If you have the 3rd, you can definitely play 3. But I feel like this is kind of this is the hand trap ratio. I feel like you don't want to clog your deck with too many non-combo pieces. And that's one of the reasons I kind of like having 2 Ash. It obviously would probably be better at 3 because you're going to see it more often. And it's a card you definitely want to see when you're going second. But I kind of just have it in here like this because that's how most of my decks are built right now with that in mind. 1 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. I don't think you need more than 1. I know a lot of players play more than 1. But I don't think you need more than 1 because your entire deck is Spellcaster type. It'd be different if you're playing something like True Dracos where everything's not. But you can definitely 1 is kind of the proper number in my opinion. The 1 Upstart Goblin, it's just kind of digs you for combo pieces and it puts spells in your grave. It puts a spell in your grave for inheritance, which is pretty good. One dark magic attack. Pretty self-explanatory card. It's like searchable via Eternal Soul, and it's searchable way to nuke your opponent's back row, and you can add it on your opponent's turn. It's not, a lot of players don't, I see them not playing it because it can be a little bit of a brick when you draw it early game, but I feel like it's kind of one of those cards you have to have in your list, in my opinion. The one dark magic inheritance. I really like this card. If you're unfamiliar with this card, it actually came in the Yugioh structure deck, which a lot of people probably weren't paying attention to because it had Magnet Warriors and not ABCs, but you can banish 2 cards from your grave to add 1 spell or trap card from your deck to your hand that lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text and has a hard once per turn effect. The main reason this card is so good now is we have the Spellbook Engine, which resolving the combo leaves 2 spell cards in your graveyard for Inheritance's activation requirement. The problem with this card in the past was that there weren't a lot of ways to load up your graveyard with spell cards quickly. You had to play things like Allure of Darkness and Summoner's Art, which are kind of in the deck, and now you don't have to. That's really strong. Then we have the 2 Illusion Magic. If you do have the 3rd Solemn Strike, you can definitely bump this down to 1. I only have 2 Solemn Strikes, so this deck is built with that in mind. But that being said, I kind of like having the 2nd one. There's times where, I like this. It's not a bad card to actually hard draw. Then 3 Dark Magical Circle, one of the most important cards in the strategy, because when it's activated, it lets you look at the 3 top cards of your deck and add if it's a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that lists Dark Magician in its text. And the other important thing is this gives you interruption on your opponent's turn. So Dark Magician is normal or special summon to your field. It banishes a card they control. It does target, but it is one of the strongest cards in the deck because the deck, it's kind of like Cyframes in that it wants to play on the opponent's turn, and this card really helps with that. Then for the Spellbook Engine, I have the 2 Secrets and the 2 Knowledge. This is a pretty standard ratio. Like, I've seen some players playing the 3rd Secrets because theoretically you can ditch extra copies with the Knowledge, but I don't really think you need to totally rely on this engine for the deck because the deck is all spellcasters. You don't need the draw engine as much, but I do think it's kind of the bueno ratio in a deck that's spellcaster based. Then we have the 2 Pot of Desires. I don't really think we need to talk too much about this card, but that being said, it is very good in this deck because you do play a lot of traps, and Pot of Desires and traps kind of go together because you banish extra copies of trap cards that really don't do you a lot of good. I just think the card is really good in the deck, and it is another spell for Inheritance. Then we have 3 Navigations. I've seen some builds playing 2. If you aren't playing Apprentice Illusion Magician, you can definitely bump this down to 2, but I kind of like 3 because Navigate is a really strong card. The only problem it has sometimes is you do have to have Dark Magician in your hand, but that's why you have Illusion Magic to get it to your hand a little more consistently. So yeah, they have the 3 Eternal Souls. This is one of the hearts and soul of the deck, literally. It makes your Dark Magicians unaffected by monster effects and allows you to either search a Dark Magic attack or special summon Dark Magician during either player's turn. This one gives the deck so much ability to play on the opponent's turn. Yes, it does have that annoying thing where you will nuke your board if it gets destroyed or leaves the field. So, which is really annoying. But that being said, you do have ways to mitigate that. Navigation's Grave Effect is pretty powerful. The new Fusion can also protect it as well. But honestly, like I always tell Dark Magician players, risk it for the biscuits. It's the same thing with Desires. Like, you have to take the chance that you can't, you can't not play a card because, it might nuke your board. Then 1 Skill Drain. Skill Drain is actually very good in Dark Magicians because you don't have a lot of monster effects that need to activate on the field. There's basically just Rod, and Apprentice won't search, but she can, these are literally the only effects your deck really loses. You can't search with Blue Boy, but Skill Drain is going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of decks anyways. If they can't, most decks need their monster effects to do a lot of their combos, so Skill Drain is a pretty effective card. Then for the Solemns, I have 2 strikes and 1 warning. Like I said earlier, this is built with my real-life decks in mind. This is what I have, so you definitely can play the 3rd strike over the 2nd Illusion Magic, but so yeah, it's pretty strong. So for the Link lineup, currently we don't have a Akashic Magician, but it does come out in Circuit Break not too far from now, so you could replace this with a Proxy Dragon. But Akashic Magician I like a little bit more because she is a dark spellcaster, so she synergizes really well. She works with Apprentice Illusion Magician. She can be sent for the grave for the cost of knowledge. Just overall really decent card in terms of synergy, and its summoning condition is pretty generic. I'm really looking forward to this card because I really like its summoning condition is pretty decent, and it's being generically good is nice. Then we have the one Decode Talker. Its protection and for targeting effects is quite nice. But you want to kind of be careful summoning it because it does have that up marker, which means your opponent can and will take advantage of you giving them that extra marker at times. Then we have the one Gaia Saber. This is here for the number 42 combo because it is the best generic Link 3 that you can summon right as of now. The one Firewall Dragon, you usually will summon this with the Tomahawk combo I'm going to mention in a minute. I feel like it's something that's good enough to where if you can summon it, with relatively easily, you can play it. It's a really, really strong card. Then for the synchros, the one Stardust Dragon, I really like this card in Dark Magician because it's pretty easy to summon. You just need Apprentice and Knights and Sorcerer here, and it can negate Eternal Soul's nuking effect. A lot of players, Dark Magician players, play Starlight Road for the same season, which is fine. But I feel like the deck can inherently make Stardust Dragon, so I feel like that's the better thing to do. Then the one Cyframe Lord Omega. So Omega is actually a pretty good card. For obvious reasons, being able to clear itself on the extra monster zone, and you can put back face down banished cards with Pot Desires. You can put back spells banished with Dark Magic Inheritance if you want to. Just overall, a lot of Omega's obviously. I feel like it's one of those cards where if you have a deck you can play it, you should be playing it. One Bilza, this is for True Dracos. True Dracos isn't exactly a favorable matchup for Dark Magicians as it is, and if you can make something that makes it an auto-win, why not? Good card. Then for the level 9s, I have the one Azure Eyes. It's a neat card to make in Dark Magician because it's kind of a Blue Eyes support. But so Azure Eyes, you make it with Dark Magician and your Knights and Sorcerer, and it first, it gets targeting and destruction protection until the end of your opponent's next turn, so they're either going to have to run it over or have done some kind of non-targeting removal to get off the board. But if it does survive until the next standby phase, it will recur a Dark Magician from your graveyard. And that's pretty good. It's something you can make, so like you have the space in Dark Magician, but if you don't feel like you need it, or you need Knights and Sorcerer, all these synchros can come out. Then I have the one Vermilion Dragon Mech. It's a generic level 9. It's pretty easy to summon. You can banish hand traps for the cost to activate it, which is pretty decent. And if your opponent's dumb enough to Dark Hole with it on the board, you can grab them back. It's a pretty overall just a good generic level 9 synchro. Then for the Exceeds, they're all rank 7s, so the one Dragosack. Pretty decent card. I like it because it clears itself out of the extra monster zone. Might not seem like it matters, but there's times where you're going to want to open up that zone. Same reason people are playing Diamond Direwolf right now. And it'll leave those 2 tokens out that can then be used as link summoning fodder, which is pretty nice. Then the one number 42, the combo I mentioned earlier with this thing. So what you do is when you summon this thing, you can activate detach 2 materials to summon 5 as many Battle Eagle tokens that can fit on your board. So most of the time, ideally, you want to summon this with nothing else on the board. You're going to summon 5 tokens. Then you use those tokens to summon a Gaia Saber because it's basically the best generic Link 3 we have right now. And if we get other generic links, that would change. But you can summon this, and then you have 3 tokens left over to do whatever you need to do with them. So if you can summon this and you have another monster, you can make a Firewall Dragon underneath it. And that's pretty decent because Firewall will be co-linked with one monster, so you can bounce 1 card during either player's turn, which is pretty nice. But it's not something the deck needs, but it's something the deck can do, so why not? The one number 11 Big Eye, stealing monsters will always be good, but especially under link summoning because you can steal your opponent's monster and then use it for link fodder. Let's say they have a Decode Talker that doesn't have any, tribute materials on it. Well, make a Big Eye, steal it, make a Firewall Dragon. That's pretty good. And then for the rank 7s, I have the 2 Ebon Illusion Magician, the 1 Ebon High Magician. Ebon High is a pretty decent card. I definitely think it has space in the Dark Magician extra deck because it allows you to activate spells and traps from your hand. And it has effect when it floats, when it's destroyed by opponent's card effects. And 2 Ebons, I don't know if you really need to impose links, but I've always kind of had the ratios this way, so they're just kind of here. If you have another extra deck suggestion, you can definitely leave something in the comment section below. And so that about comes to the end of the updated Dark Magician deck profile for you guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you have any suggestions, thoughts, or other decks you'd like to see profiled, let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. So Orstorm signing out.